that, kid. What? You want to join the army and drive a chariot? Are you crazy?
Imagine that, wanting to be a charioteer rather than a scribe. After all we've told those knuckleheads, we still don't know how lucky they could have it.
I don't know what's so attractive about the army. Long, dusty rides in the desert, sitting behind a horse for long periods of time, having to duck all those arrows.
Just think, those kids could be scribes and get great jobs working for the government. Or even the pharaoh himself.
High pay, glamour, getting the inside scoop on all the government scandals. I told that boy he had a great career ahead of him. He said our job is...
What? Too challenging? Too exciting?
Not exactly. He said our job was boring.
Boring? Boring? This is an outrage. What did you say to that ungrateful brat?
I used a secret weapon. And then he swore he'd never be anything but a scribe.
What secret weapon was that?
The stories. I told him that scribes get to hear and write down stories. I told him the story of Isis and Osiris.
Oh, yes, Isis and Osiris. By the way, what story did you really use?
Stop kidding me. You must know the story. It's full of mystery, adventure, and it even has a happy ending.
Oh, sure. I know it, absolutely. But there are lots of different versions of the stories. Can you tell me your version of the story?
Are you sure you are familiar with this material?
Well, sort of.
You don't know the story of Isis and Osiris? How did you get your scribe license? Listen up while I tell you what you should have already known. Right around the beginning of time, give or take a few years, there was the goddess of Sky, and she was called Nut.
I gave birth to 4 gods on consecutive days. I know it sounds unlikely, but this is a myth after all. Unlikely things happen all the time in myths. I was born first, and you know how everyone loves the firstborn. I'm told the common folk shouted, "The Lord of the Earth has been born," when I arrived on the scene. But I don't like to brag. Would you just get over yourself? You're always bragging. Allow me to introduce my problem child. Finally, the moment you were waiting for. Drum roll, please. Set is born. That's me, the god of chaos. How did they get along without me? It wasn't too hard to get along without chaos. She's just saying that. My mother loves me so much that she didn't want me to be born and have an independent life. I had to jump out of her side instead of being born in the usual fashion. If I had waited around, I might never have been born.
Quiet down, Set. You always need attention. I, Isis, was the third born. I have lots of powers, like magic and the wild wind. Don't forget about me, big sister. I was the last one born. I may be the youngest of Nut's 4 children, but that doesn't mean I'm a zero. I am the goddess of death, after all. I know it's not a pleasant job, but someone has to do it. Osiris proved that he was important, and not just because he was the firstborn child of the gods.
How? What exactly did Osiris do? I civilized the people of ancient Egypt. First, I taught them to obey laws and have respect for one another. Also, so that they could survive, I taught them how to raise crops.
Not too shabby, especially since most of Egypt is desert.
True, learning how to farm on a small strip of land isn't an easy feat.
And Osiris did all this, not with force or bullying, but with common sense. He talked to people, and they listened. The god Isis listened to him too.
My dear, let us be married. We'll make great partners and help turn Egypt into a great civilization.
I do, and we will. There was great rejoicing when Isis and Osiris married. The heavens were filled with shouts of joy. Well, almost filled.
It makes me sick. Everyone loves Osiris, and now everyone loves the first couple. Osiris gets the big temples and all the attention. The rest of us gods get dusty little temples and tiny villages. This situation calls for a little chaos.
Set cooked up a plot that would bring Osiris down from his high place. He didn't care that Osiris had helped the Egyptians survive and thrive in the desert.
I'll use Osiris's own vanity to trick him. Here's what I'll do. I'll make a beautiful box, the most beautiful box in the world, and let Osiris do the rest. I'll make sure Isis is out of the way, though. She's too smart for my plot.
Set used all his powers to build a chest out of beautiful wood. He ordered artists to carve hunting scenes into the wood and then set precious stones in it.
Here are my orders. Follow them exactly, or else.
Boss, I've got one question. How big should this chest be?
Get the measurements from Osiris's tailor.
Oh, is this going to be a closet for the greatest of gods?
Not exactly, and drop that greatest of God stuff.
One night, while Osiris was hosting a dinner party, one that Isis did not attend, Set appeared with the beautiful chest.
My dear fellow god, I'm so sorry to interrupt your little party, but I decided to show you something. Do you want to see what I was able to get my artist to do?
The crowd oohed and ahed when they saw the beautiful box. All those in the room wanted it for themselves.
Now, Osiris, just to show you how generous I am, especially with you and your friends, I'm going to give this chest away. That's right, I'm going to give this away, but for a limited time only, to whoever can fit inside.
All the dinner guests dropped their food and rushed toward the box. Osiris himself wanted to go, but he didn't.
That's the most beautiful box I've ever seen. I should have it, but it would seem undignified for me to join the mob. I'll play it cool. I bet Set had planned this for that too.
You're right.
Isn't this interesting? No one fits in the box just right. Some of you are too small, and some are too big. I think that many of you should just think twice before you have seconds at these banquets. Everyone's given the box a try, except for you, Osiris.
With that, all the diners started to chant, Osiris, Osiris, Osiris. They called until the god smiled and stood up to try out the box.
I have a feeling this is going to be a perfect fit. Are you comfy? Oh yes, this feels as though it was tailor-made for me. What an interesting thought.
As quickly as he could, Set gave a signal and his henchmen rushed up to the chest. In a flash, they nailed the cover on, trapping Osiris inside. Then, to make sure he wouldn't get out, they poured hot lead over the box to seal it closed.
Why, Osiris probably couldn't breathe in there.
I'm afraid that was Set's plan, but not the only part of his plan.
Take it to the Nile and throw it in. Let the river rid us and know-it-all God. From now on, I'm in charge here. Things seem pretty bleak.
Don't give up hope yet. The story's just beginning.
Let me see if I can recall what happened next. Don't tell me. Isis began to wonder what happened to Osiris.
I haven't seen my beloved for days. Ever since he was at that dinner party, I'm beginning to get worried. I wonder if Set has...
Mention my name and I'll appear.
My husband is missing, and I think you have something to do with it.
Me? Everyone blames me for everything, because I'm the god of chaos. That isn't fair. Your husband runs off and suddenly it's my fault.
I'm sorry, but it just seemed natural to blame you. You and he didn't exactly see eye to eye.
I accept your apology. As your new leader, I think it's important to forgive and forget.
New leader?
Yes, I'm filling in for Osiris, who seems to have run away from his job. Too much pressure for the old boy, I guess.
You're terrible. Just wait until Osiris comes back.
I've got a feeling I'll be waiting a very long time for that.
Isis grew tired of waiting for Osiris to return home, so she set out to find him. She traveled in disguise far and wide across Egypt, hoping to find her husband. Finally, she came to a village at the very end of the Nile, just where the great river meets the sea.
Where she met? I remember now, a little girl.
My dear, tell me, have any of the gods visited this place recently? Have you perhaps seen the great god Osiris?
No, Grandmother. Almost nothing happens in our village. Why, the magnificent box was the biggest news in years.
The magnificent box? Tell me about it.
Well, it was big enough for someone to fit inside. It was beautiful but sealed up. We were going to open and look for jewels, but someone recognized the mark of Set on it, and we put it back in the water right away. There was also something else.
Tell me everything.
Everyone who got near the box said it gave off powerful energy.
Quickly, tell me where the box went. The contents of that box are very special to me. Isis followed the currents of the sea to the city of Byblos. She learned the box had come ashore beside a small bush. The energy from Osiris' body caused the bush to grow into a great tree. Soon the tree grew around the box completely, and it kept growing. It became one of the greatest trees in the kingdom.
When Isis arrived on the scene, she discovered that king and queen of the city had taken the tree to be a pillar in their palace, but Isis still didn't give up.
I'll get a job in the palace and plan my next move. After all, I just can't walk in and tear the bean down. It just so happened that the queen needed someone to take care of her infant son, the prince. Isis, disguised again as an old woman, was hired right away. The king and queen are good people. I'll do something special for them before. I asked for the tree trunk back. I'll use my magic fire to make their son immortal.
She placed the baby in the magical fire, which did not burn him, but would have prevented any enemy or disease from harming him. But just as the spells began to work, the queen walked in. A fire! My baby! Help! What's going on in here? You horrible witch! What have you done to my child?
Your child is fine, but he'll never be immortal. You've broken my spell. And, by the way, I am the goddess Isis.
Oh, goddess, forgive me. Don't be offended. I was just afraid of losing my son's life. Don't punish us. Let us make it up to you in some way. Whatever you want is yours.
Well, there is a rather large piece of wood that I'm interested in. Isis got the tree trunk from the palace. She cut through the wood and discovered Osiris' body. She brought her husband's body back to Egypt and hid it along the Nile.
However, Set, who wanted to stay in power as long as possible, had other plans. Isis has been gone a long time. The Snoop could find someone that might make life difficult for me. I better look around and see what I can see.
As luck would have it, Set stumbled upon the right place.
What's this? Hidden in the reeds, a box, a very familiar box. Isis has found the body, but she'll never use it as evidence against me. They'll never find Osiris now. The evil Set tore the body of Osiris into bits and scattered them all around Egypt. I think we've seen the end of Osiris.
When Isis returned home and could not find Osiris, she was beside herself. Has my husband's body disappeared again? What will happen to him in the afterlife? I must ask the other gods for help. Can anyone tell me what has happened? Sister, I can't. Set has scattered the body across the land. Then I must find it. I will not rest until Osiris can rest. Isis traveled throughout the land, searching for Osiris. Wherever she found a bit of him, she dedicated a temple to his memory. Some say, when she had gathered all the bits of his body together, she buried him.
That explains why there are so many temples to Osiris throughout the land.
Exactly, I remember though. That's not the end of the story. Osiris surpassed Set, after all.
He did? He had been killed and torn apart? How could he win?
Osiris became the lord of the afterlife, ruling over all the countless dead. He became much more powerful than Set.
Oh, I love a happy ending.